Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. So today I'm going to introduce a new workflow to you. This is a workflow that allows you to create what's called a voice agent. And quite simply, this agent can be placed here on our website, and anyone who needs help just has to click here and a virtual assistant will be there to assist them, ready to answer all their requests. It can schedule appointments and even update them on my calendar. Be careful, it's very good at converting. That means it can encourage people to make purchases directly from my website. That's what makes this voice agent so powerful. So why is this workflow so important? Because today, according to Google Trends, everything related to voice agents with artificial intelligence is in very high demand by businesses. And what's really interesting with our workflow is that today I'm going to use a free API that will simply allow us to make very straightforward configurations. And it makes it easy to create this agent. Stay until the end of the video because first I'm going to give you my workflow to download for free. On top of that, I'll show you how to do all the necessary configurations so it works. We'll start with the theoretical part to understand the mechanism, and at the end, I'll give you access to what I call my documentation. Because this agent is able to work no matter the profession. That means you can use it for a restaurant, a hotel, a doctor, a lab, no matter what your line of work is. And today, we're able to add this voice agent. I'll see you in just a moment. We'll start by testing it first so we can see the result and then download the workflow, understand the mechanism, and I'll guide you step by step so you can successfully complete this n8n workflow. Thank you. So on my left, I have my workflow, and on my right, I have my website, and that's where I have the agent. When I click here, I accept, and now it's ready to receive my call or my request. What I'm going to do is very simple. I'm going to come here to activate the workflow. Now the workflow is active and it's waiting for this agent to send information here in order to retrieve data and information. I'm simply going to start the question. I'm going to ask it to suggest automation training courses for me, and we'll see if it's able to search for offers and suggest the best option that meets my request.
Hello, I am Daniel, Doctor's virtual assistant, Fearless. I can help you with our packages, the content of the training courses, and access to the platform. What would you like to know?
Hello, I am very interested in any training related to automation with n8n. What do you offer?
Alright, I will look up information about automation training with n8n. Please wait a moment. The n8n training from beginner to expert costs €99 and lasts about 19 hours. It includes 16 practical workshops on various topics such as automation on WhatsApp, creating viral videos, and web scraping with n8n.
So for the workflow to work properly, we need to connect what we call the knowledge base to our agent, meaning the AI. The knowledge base is simply a Google Sheets or Excel file where I will put all the information about my business and my offer. So no matter what your profession is, you will simply enter the data. Thanks to this data, the workflow will actually understand what it's about. So it is able to respond to people quickly based on what they ask. And especially if people want to make a booking, for example, for coaching, or simply depending on your field. If people want to schedule an appointment with you, then the system will check my calendar, it will create this appointment according to the client's confirmation, of course, and then it will send me a confirmation email. So be aware of all that. It also works with the 11 Labs API. 11 Labs has a paid API, but for all the testing we're going to do today, we'll just use the free API. It gives us up to 10,000 free credits when we create an account. So we're going to take advantage of that to set up this system. So the first thing to do, I'll show you how simple it is. Now we're going to import this workflow. I'm going to give it to you for free. Here, I'm going to download it and I'll show you how to import this workflow onto your n8n server. And after that, we'll simply go through the entire workflow to better understand how a voice agent works, how we can set it up in our business, take advantage of it, and make money from it for our business. Alright, so now we're at the step where we download my workflow. To download it, just go directly to this address, n8n Dr. Firas VIP. On that page, simply enter your email address and click I want the n8n templates. As a result, you'll receive the ready-to-use workflow by email. Of course, check your spam folder in case the workflow ends up there. And there, you'll get a file in JSON format. Now, what do we need? We simply need an n8n server to import this file and run it. And to get the server, there are two ways to do it. Either we go to the official n8n website and sign up there to get the server. But here you should know that the pricing is $24 per month. That's roughly the price. But be careful, you're limited in the number of active workflows. That means here, it only allows me to run 5 workflows at the same time. 5 active workflows is really very few, especially if you're a freelancer or a business owner who wants to automate certain workflows. So as a result, either you move up to a higher, more expensive plan, or there's another alternative, which is simply to choose Hostinger's unlimited server. So here, you just need to be on this page where you'll find the n8n logo. I'll leave that for you in the description. Here, it's accessible from this exact button, so unlimited n8n. So here, what's the difference? Here I would have a server called KVM2, so this server is unlimited, meaning it has 2 processors and allows me to import an unlimited number of workflows and also to activate an unlimited number of workflows. So in terms of pricing, it's much more attractive than the official site. If you're a business and you want to resell workflows, then of course you can go for KVM4 because that one has 4 processors, so workflow execution is much faster. So for example, the one I recommend is this one. So if you want to start with about 10 workflows, I select this pack here and you'll see that here there's also the option to use a little coupon that will let us get another discount. So I'm going to enter Go N8N. If I enter this coupon and click activate, you'll see that the price drops even further, so it's even more attractive, and you'll notice that just below, it will directly offer me the n8n server. So what I recommend is to go with n8n plus 100 workflows here. So with this one, I confirm here, not only do you get n8n, but as a bonus, you'll receive the 100 most used workflows by companies worldwide for free. So here, in fact, it's a system that will import and configure for you the workflows that are the most commonly used by businesses. And so as a result, you'll already have an interface with about 100 workflows for free. That's all. So all that's left to do is simply click here on continue to get direct access to your server. All right, so now I'm on my n8n server interface, and what I'm going to do is import my workflow. So here I will click right here and I'll find the option to import from file. So I will click there and then I'll actually select the specific file I'm interested in working with and then click open. And there you go. Now I have the complete workflow ready and available for me to use. So now my workflow has just been installed here, and what's very important is to create what's called credentials. The connections we'll need to set up between n8n and the different nodes you see here, like the Calendly nodes, as well as the Gmail and Google Sheets nodes. So for all these nodes, I'll actually need to connect them in order to make the system work. So we'll try to see step by step how this setup is done, and keep in mind, we'll also need to understand this AI agent, what it's used for, and why we'll need to use it. Now you should know that a voice agent actually has 7 functionalities in business today. We actually use the intelligent voice agent for 7 functionalities. There's the support part. So the support part, quite simply, is what I do on my website. Basically, it guides people when they ask technical questions or need information. It's as if in my database, I have all the questions and answers, and the agent will do what's necessary to guide those customers. And then there's what we call appointment scheduling, everything related to voice-based planning. That's really great because the system has access to my calendar, it can check it, and it can suggest appointments. And we also have what we call real-time translation. Since the voice agent is multilingual, it means that in a company, I wouldn't actually need to hire several people who speak different languages. So as a result, I can just have one person, say a French speaker, and the voice agent can actually act as the intermediary. It can take the voice input or the question from someone, translate it, and relay it in French. That's what's really, really powerful. The most common function, which is often called a virtual receptionist, is used to handle calls, greet clients, and direct them to the right department. Also, in medical assistance today, these systems are widely used, especially since there are elderly people. So the voice assistant can call them back for their appointments, for their medication. It is very, very good at that. It can also be used for controlling connected devices, because the voice agent can receive instructions in the form of voice commands, then translate and execute them, like controlling lights, heating, connected appliances, and so on. And finally, and this is what interests me, is conversion. So it is able to detect whether a prospect is warm or cold, if the prospect is interesting or not, if they are engaged or not, and then move towards conversion, that is, turning the prospect into a client. And this is what's really, really important. This is where you actually feel the added value for a business. So all of this can be programmed and set up within the same workflow, and I'll show you which parts are the most important to modify so they fit your business. Okay, so now let's understand our workflow. and especially try to grasp how the flow of information circulates. So what's very important to know is that there are three parts. There's the first part, which mainly consists of a single node here, the trigger node. This means that it will be activated if it receives a request from the voice agent, that is, a demand. If it receives a question here, it will try to find the answer by asking this AI agent, so that it can provide the information and send it back here. So first part, we'll focus on the first part, which is where I receive the request. So the question is, how do I receive the request? Quite simply, here we've created a node called webhook. So webhook, if I click here just to show you, I'm going to click to look for a webhook here. The webhook, let me give you a quick example. What does it do? It means that it's going to give me a test URL. Of course, once I'm done testing, I can switch it to a production URL. But what is the test URL? It's that if a software, a tool, an external one, calls this URL, it's as if it wants to send it information. And so as soon as the system receives this information, that's when the workflow will be executed. So if I open my node here, I'll see that I have my URL, I have the post method, and quite simply, who is going to send a request, a call to this system. In our case, it's simply that I'm going to call 11labs. 11labs is simple. You just need to create a free account here on 11labs. I log in. It's a system based on artificial intelligence, and above all, they're very advanced when it comes to voice. When I create a free account, I'll find myself on this interface. And here, actually, on 11labs, you'll find the standard part of the 11labs platform, which is this one. But when I click here, I'll find everything related to the conversational artificial intelligence section. This is where I can create agents. And what's really interesting about the system is that it gives me free credits so I can test it out. If I just come down here, you'll see that the system has given me 10,000 credits, which I can use to run several tests. By the way, I've used up about 3,500. So it's a system that allows me to create one or several agents. This is an example of an agent I created here. Creating an agent is very simple. It first lets me choose how many languages I want to include in my system. For example, by default it's French, but I can add English, I can add other languages as well, Portuguese, Spanish, and so on. And what's really interesting is that if I scroll down a bit here, it will give me the option simply suggest that I add a welcome message. That is, this is the first message I send to people who get in touch with me when they come here to ask me a question. Here in my system, if I come back here, there's also a very important section, which is, how do you want it to respond? Here, we give it what we call the personality, the environment, the time it will use, and what the objective is. Of course, you'll find this entire prompt in our documentation. So here, I put the prompts here. This is what you need to put on 11labs. Of course, this is a part that you simply need to refine according to your needs, according to your field. For me, we gave it specific objectives. And what's very important now is to connect the agent with n8n. And of course, you'll see that this is a system where I'm going to have it connect with my webhook. When I click here, remember the test URL? It's this one. You just need to copy and paste the test URL here. If I click on test the agent, this agent will call this URL right here. What will happen is that the entire workflow will be triggered. That's the first step. It's to create an 11labs account, create an agent, and then put the URL here in 11labs, exactly in this section. That's all you need to do to connect 11labs and n8n to achieve this integration and power. On one hand, you have an agent that works with voice, trying to understand the client's needs, and on the other hand, n8n will execute a lot of other tasks outside of the AI agent on 11labs. Because the agent on 11labs is in some ways limited. It can't send you an email, it can't check your calendar, so it's really quite limited. That's why we use n8n, which gives us a huge range of possibilities. Now let's look at a very interesting option on 11labs, which is this voice feature. You'll see when I come here, I can, of course, depending on the language I've added. In my case, I've added English. I've specified that this agent can respond in either French or English. You'll see that here, on the voice side, I have the option to choose the voice that interests me. And what's even better is that I can even integrate my own voice. But be careful, as you can see here, like with Dr. Firas, so French, to add my own voice, I needed to have a premium account, because the premium account allows me to use my own voice. This can be interesting in certain cases. For example, if a company wants to use the voice of the receptionist or a real person, it's possible to do so. So of course here I choose in French which voice I want to assign to this agent. Just as I can select, for example, English as well, change to another voice, I can choose male or female. You'll see that I can click here. In fact, it will give me a database. There are actually hundreds and hundreds of interesting voices here. Be careful, the ones with this logo are premium. So you need a paid account to access those. But really, there is a huge selection in multiple languages. These are agents that are very well made and can do the job in a really interesting way. So that's great. So now I'm on n8n and I'm moving on to the second step. Be careful, this is a very important step where the work will be done on n8n. So here in this task, I'm actually calling on an agent, an intelligent one, of course. This agent will actually need its own LLM. So here in a way, we're going to use ChatGPT version 5 so it can, run things. It's kind of like the brain. There will also be a creative aspect and access to different tools. So you should know that there's a very important point here. On n8n, we use an LLM that is actually capable of, directing and guiding the agent. But also don't forget that even here with my agent, the voice agent on 11 Labs, it also needs access to an LLM. So here I actually choose to give it access because in order for it to maintain a conversation with clients, it already needs an LLM. So it's not robotic. It needs to think, understand, and ask questions if necessary. Because once it has the question, once it knows the specific need, that's when it will go to n8n to request, some information. But first it has to handle the conversation, and that's why here we use an LLM. So for me, in my case, I chose the fastest LLM. That's important because on the phone, I don't want the system to lag, to stay silent, or to take too long searching for information. So that's why here I chose to use Gemini Flashlight version. This one is actually the best version. Besides, it's not expensive to begin with, but if I compare it to the classic Flash, but this allows things to go very fast, and that's what makes the difference. And actually, you'll see that in the prompt here, we asked it not to remain silent. It always has to keep the conversation going so that I feel like someone is listening to me. So if I go back to my LLM here, or rather n8n, you'll see that for the agent, we actually used ChatGPT. So here I can simply choose GPT-5. You just need to switch here. There you go. And actually, version 5 has several variants. So I choose the mini version, the one that can go really, really fast. OpenAI actually allows me to make this connection. If you haven't connected your credentials with OpenAI yet, it's actually very simple to do. You just need to get the API and you can see the API. So it's well explained here in the documentation. You just need to go to the OpenAI interface. So here, in this interface, log in. That's it. Then click on dashboard and you'll see it in the dashboard. In fact, you'll find the API key there. So here you just need to create a new key. So once the key is created, you simply copy and paste it here, and that will actually give you access to the ChatGPT model. Okay, the system also has access to my calendar. So here, the main advantage is that it can perfectly know what requests I have, which appointments are already scheduled, and it also has the ability to actually access and even create a report. So to check availability, here I'm using the operation called get. So it will retrieve all the appointments I have and especially the upcoming ones because it's interested in scheduling appointments in the future. That means starting from today, for example, what availability do I have? So once the appointment is confirmed, it will send me an email to let me know that an appointment has been confirmed. Of course, it will add it to my calendar. Then it will send it. And here, this is the access, as we already saw, to the database where I put all the information related to my profession, which are also connected to my website. Thanks to this system, it is able to read all of that. Now, what else do we need to understand? It's actually the prompt that I put here. These are basically the instructions where the agent will be able to use all these tools thanks to the prompt, which I'll show you right now. So here is the system prompt. Now, keep in mind, this system prompt can of course be adapted to fit your company's needs. The one I put here is very strong when it comes to customer support and everything related to scheduling appointments. So I'm going to show it to you here from the documentation, so it'll be much easier to read here. So here I'm already giving it the objective, right? So here it has a specific objective, especially since I set it up to handle everything related to appointments in Paris time. These details are really important because it could happen that the client is in another country and they book an appointment for 9 o'clock, but 9 o'clock in their country is actually noon in France. So as a result, this can cause a problem. So the agent will do everything necessary to handle the time conversion, and their mission is also to provide short, simple, and clear answers. That's very important. Next, this system actually has the right to access my entire database. So that's very important, and it will need to understand everything related to questions about my company, which of course I have provided here in this table. If I go back, I also gave it some rules. So first, it's about answering questions related to support using the database. So here, I'm telling it, this is a question related to the company, the package, the service, the offer, and so on. You answer based on that. Here it's a bit different. If ever there's a need for an appointment, you check and verify if there are available slots, what dates are open, and then you suggest a few time slots to the client. If that's okay, you book it, make the reservation, and pay close attention to the time. And finally, make sure to send a confirmation because I would like to receive a confirmation by email. Here it's just a little reminder about the time zone for scheduling. This too, it's actually the style, so that's the kind of response I want to give regarding, in fact, the display of appointment times. And here are a few restrictions actually, so that it takes all these requests into account. And especially here, it's a bit like I'm telling it which tools it's going to use to, well, create the appointment or also access my database. This prompt here, which exists for this agent, makes the agent very powerful and gives the agent certain instructions, in fact, that allow it to quickly provide a response. Because don't forget, if someone calls and the voice agent says, hold on, let me check if they're available, it shouldn't take 5 hours, right? It needs to give a very quick response so that it really feels like you're talking to a human. We can ask the caller to wait, we can check, we can make changes, we can be flexible with the person calling while always staying very focused on the mission, which is to provide support, give availabilities, confirm appointments, and send an email. And that way we have a system here that is solid, that's ready to do the job. So this is the final step. It simply needs to send the response back to the same webhook. That means the response will be sent directly to our agent, the agent that's here. It will actually receive the response so it can simply execute it. The last and very important step, how do I put this agent directly on my website? Well, it's simple. To have this design and this interface, it's straightforward. So you'll see that if I go here, there's a little option called widget. When I click, it gives me a small code to copy and paste into my website. And this code will simply trigger the entire design and the agent directly from my site. Of course, you can set a few configurations and you'll see that I can obviously change the design. I can add the agent's photo here if I want. So you also have the colors that you can change and the placement. You tell it, for example, it's at the top, on the left, at the bottom, and so on. So you'll have the ability to work on all the colors and the interface. So really, it's a very simple system. So for me, I simply copied and pasted the code just like that, taking the default code, and as a result, it was automatically displayed on my website. So thanks to the agent that's there, thanks to n8n, with this workflow, I was simply able to set up this agent and actually let the agent work for me and help me make the reservations.